Hi, I'm Renee Charlotte Hughes Smith, and I'm here with my colleagues Heidi Berkey and Renee Cuevas-Dias. We will be presenting on language support strategies, and this video is being recorded from a Shoblis Skivri. So we are 3 speech-language pathologists who provide speech-language therapy and early intervention to children birth to 3 years of age and their families in the home and other community settings in Denver, Colorado, in the United States. And we are connected to McGeorgia through a common colleague. In our talk, we will be discussing language strategies which can be incorporated into different family activities in both the community and the home. This topic we are presenting was selected based on questions that Parent Skivri is getting from its audience. And so let's think about the importance of daily routine. So when we think about children learning language, we know that children learn best when they are engaged in activities in which they are interested. What does the child enjoy? What are their favorite places, events, or objects? What keeps the child's attention and what motivates the child? Also, children learn best through everyday experiences and in interactions with familiar people in familiar contexts, such as the home or other community settings. And most important, it is those relationships the child has with a parent, sibling, extended family member, or other caregivers which support the child's learning experiences. It is these family activities in which learning occurs and can include things such as daily routines, such as getting dressed, washing hands, eating, and brushing teeth. Other family activities can include celebrations, playtime, and literacy activities. We can look at community activities, which can include outdoor activities and activities at various locations of the community. And it's these different environments that are not just locations, but they also provide different kinds of activities which support the child's language development. So there are many natural learning opportunities which take place in various rooms in a home. The locations in the home are where a child can practice different language strategies. For example, the kitchen is the location. The different activity settings are the table, cabinets, and sink. And the natural learning opportunities for language development can be the child learning to follow directions, imitate actions and sounds, identify or label objects, and express wants and needs. And mealtime is a wonderful time to be able to address language development because of all the communication that is occurring for that child and that family during mealtime. So for example, the child can express when they're hungry or thirsty, if they want more, what type of foods they want through choice making. The parent can describe the food. Is it crunchy? Is it soft? They can label the items being used, such as utensils, such as spoon or fork, a cup, a dish, what actions are happening, eating, drinking, pouring, wiping off the table, or the prepositions to describe what's happening, such as in and out or on and off. So when we look at a child's day, there are many hours and many opportunities, both in the family's home and community activities, for a parent to support their child's speech and language development over the course of the day and the week. For example, if a child is receiving therapy to support their development, the therapist may be working with the child for only 1 hour a week. However, there are approximately 84 waking hours that a child is awake where the parent can support the child's speech and language development, both in the daily routines and in community settings. So next, we will hear from Heidi, who will discuss different strategies to support your child's language development. And then Renee will be talking about addressing incorporating these strategies into mealtime, dressing, playing, and self-care activities.
Great, thank you for that introduction, Renee. I'm going to shift our gears a little bit here and talk about some of the strategies that we wanted to highlight as ways to incorporate supporting your child in their early speech language development into those daily routines. So the first one that we want to talk about is choice making. So when we think about choice making, this really provides a model for the child as well as a natural opportunity for them to be able to respond or imitate. It also allows them to participate in decision-making while limiting the options to make that decision-making process easier. So when we think about this, it can help reduce some frustration because it gives them a natural role in making those decisions, as well as allowing them to increase their participation throughout the day by using words or other forms of communication. It also encourages your child to participate at their communication level. What we mean by that is it could be that they are looking to identify something that they might want to either request or to make a choice between. They could be reaching or pointing. They might be at a single word stage, or they might be starting to put some short phrases together. When we talk about choice making, we really want to be limited in the number of choices that we are providing at one time. So typically we recommend offering only 2 to 3 options at a time and offering only options that you as the parent are okay with the child having. The second strategy that we want to highlight is something called communication temptations. Sometimes this is more informally known as sabotage, because we're basically creating some sort of barrier so that your child has to use some communication. The benefits of this is that it, again, fits very easily into those daily routines in your everyday life. And it provides another natural opportunity for them to communicate specifically around their wants and needs, and for them to practice asking or requesting. So in how we do this, we're thinking about how can you purposely create a problem so that your child needs to communicate. So this could be something like putting a toy up high, or something that they need up high, or keeping a very motivating item inside of a cabinet or someplace where they could see it, but they can't necessarily get to it. Along with those two main strategies, we also wanted to talk about some additional strategies that are used to supplement those first two of choice making and those communication temptations. So these common strategies is what we're calling them, or common basic strategies. The first one is modeling that communication. So here we're thinking about you are saying or doing what you want your child to try. So for example, as the parent, you could say ball or book, and then the child can respond using either a gesture or a point or a word or attempt at a word, a sign, or a picture to communicate their response. The second basic strategy we wanted to note is to simplify your language. So children can have a hard time understanding or imitating if we use too many words or make our sentences too lengthy. So think about breaking information into shorter sentences and trying to match what they understand and use, plus or minus one word. So for example, we could say something like, do you want ball or book? Instead of saying, do you want to read a book with me or go outside and play ball? The third basic strategy we wanted to mention is the idea of using wait time. So again, kids can take a little bit longer to process what they are hearing and then also produce a response. So we want to pause longer than you think you might need to. So for at least 5 to 10 seconds, or potentially even longer, depending on how your child responds. And this can be really hard, and it takes some practice. So thinking about strategies for how to support you in that, it can help to practice counting in your head up to about 10, or maybe again a little bit longer, to give your child enough time to respond. And then finally, we wanted to just mention thinking about the communication level. So most of these strategies, we want to think about accepting whatever current level of communication that your child may be at. So that might mean that if your child is currently just pointing to make requests or to make a decision between a choice, we accept that. During certain times when we're trying to challenge them to their next level of communication, so for example, moving from a gesture to using single words, we might then prompt them for that next level. So if they're pointing, we might say, oh, you can use your words to tell me, and see if they can then move themselves with your support to the next level. And I'll pass it now to Renee to move on to some vocabulary.
Thank you. Yes. So then with all of these different strategies, we wanted to kind of bring them together and talk about how you can start to use them throughout your day and to make it as easy as possible, because we promise it is. It's not as hard as it might seem. It is meant to be easy. And some of these you might already be doing and you just don't realize that that is part of their purpose. So these are just some examples of vocabulary that you want to think about. So different kinds of vocabulary. There's items or objects, there's actions, descriptors, prepositions, and sequencing words. Those are the main types of words that we have. So these are just some examples for all those different routines. And these routines we're going to talk about too. There's mealtime when you're eating. Talk about the food that you're eating. Talk about what you're doing with it. You're drinking it, you're eating it, you're pouring it. Just some describing words about it. Oh, is it red? Oh, it's cold. Where you might be putting the food, in your mouth, on the plate, things like that. And so we'll talk about mealtime, dressing time, playtime, and self-care time. Another thing to highlight is just some good question forms that are question words that are good to use with kids. Asking them yes/no questions. That gives them an opportunity to provide you just a little bit of information or to see if they understand what you're asking them. Adding in what, that's the next level of a question word to ask them. What is it? What are you doing? And then it goes to where are we going? Where's the plate? Who's here? Who are you eating with? How are you doing that? That kind of thing. So all of those words can lead to more language that your child might be using. So with meal times, we broke out examples in looking at different language levels and also the two main strategies that we talked about with choice making and communication temptations for all of the routines. So if your child needs less language to be able to focus for choice making, you can ask spoon or fork. Just those words, then they can just indicate which one they want, if it is pointing, if it is gesturing, or if it is actually saying one of those words. You can make it more complex by adding on, do you want milk or water? Adding on that little bit, that kind of carrier phrase at the beginning to provide a longer utterance, but still not too much for them to have to comprehend. Or you can make it really long and complex if your child is ready for that. Should we sit in the big chair or the little chair? That's a lot of language for a kid to process, and that's okay. Some kids are ready for that and some are not. Some examples of the communication temptations at this routine is providing them just a little bit of the food or drink and see if they'll ask for more. So if you're giving them pieces of bread, that you cut it up and just give them one piece and then wait and see if they ask for more or indicate to you somehow that they want more. You can also provide them a container. So if it comes in a box or if it comes in a plastic container with a lid, give them the container. If they can't open it, they'll have to communicate with you to tell you that they want it or that they need it open. Another thing is just giving them a plate if they're used to eating it with a spoon, and then they look at you very confused, like, why do I not have my spoon for this? I need it. That's an opportunity for them to communicate with you that they need that spoon. And within this, you can do that. You ask something, you wait. You count and wait to 5 seconds to see what they do to let you know what they need. You also can model the words. If they're not talking yet, you provide, like in the choice making examples, you provided that model of the word that they can use to tell you what they want. With a communication temptation, you can do that too. After you hand it to them, you wait a little bit, and then you say, do you need it open? Or if they need the box open, and then you're providing that model because they may not yet know how to tell you what they want. So that is kind of how a lot of these are during dressing time. Again, you can make it simple, shirts or pants for their choices. You can make it a little bit more complicated. Do you want the stripes or the flowers? Talking about what's maybe on their shirt or on their clothing or on their socks, whatever piece of clothing it is, asking which one they want. Do you want to do it yourself or do you want me to help? That's that more complex language, which lots of kids can be ready for, but some aren't. Some ideas for the communication temptations is you just give your child their shirt. If they're not able to put it on themselves yet, just hand it to them. and wait, see what they do. They might try and put it on themselves, which is also a good skill. Or they might look at you very confused and be like, this is not what we normally do. Can you please put this on me now? And that gives you the opportunity to provide that model. Oh, shirt on? Okay. Waiting to zip or button their clothing until they ask for help. Putting a sock on their hand, being silly with it is okay. Most kids, when you put a sock or a shoe on your hand or on your head, they look at you so very confused. Why are you putting that? That is not where that goes. But that's a time for them to tell you, no, don't want, or no, foot, because that's where it goes instead. The next routine is playtime. So some of this depends on what toys and things you have, but you can do this with any type of toys, any type of interactive thing that kids may have. I have used it many times, both choice making and the communication temptation, while out playing outside with kids where all we have are trees and rocks and grass. So you don't need a lot of things to do either of these. So you can ask them for the choice making, book or ball. Do you want the puzzle or the doll? Do you want to color or play outside? Those different levels of it. For communication, temptations, keeping the toy in a location that's out of reach. So if they can't climb up on the chair and get to the table, putting it on the table and waiting for them to tell you that they need it or that they want it, or putting it in a cupboard, or putting it in a backpack that has a zipper because they can't open the zipper yet. Those are all great places to put things that are maybe out of reach, but that makes them learn to communicate with you to tell you that they want it. With electronic toys, the ones that have buttons that you may have to turn on or off, I do this all the time and the kids get very mad at me, but they learn very quickly how to tell me they want it on, because I'll let them play with it for a little bit and then I will turn it off. And then I'll wait and I'll look at them. Another language strategy is called an expectant look. You kind of tilt in toward them and you lift up your eyebrows looking like, what do you want to tell me? You can tell me now. And so see if they'll communicate that they want the toy on again, or maybe they want you to push the button because they can't push it, or it's a really small button so they have problems finding it and pushing it. Again, that closed container, like I mentioned, a backpack, boxes, under your legs. I have done that also. That's a good place. And you have to tell me you want it, or help, or please, something to tell me that you want that toy that I hid wherever I hid it. The last routine is during self-care. So that includes brushing teeth, brushing hair, taking a shower, or wiping down to get cleaned up after the day. So if it's time to wash, you can ask them hair or feet, as to ask them which one do you want me to wash first, but you keep it that simpler language for them. You can also ask, do you want the toothbrush or the hairbrush? Which one do you want first? That kind of thing. And that also helps kids feel like they have more power and control throughout their day because they get to make these choices. So then maybe when they don't have a choice, they won't resist it as much. Could also ask, do you want to get in the shower by yourself or do you want help? It gives children the power to learn that they can do things by themselves, but also gives them that language modeling like Heidi was talking about too. For the communication temptations, you can put them in the shower and then don't turn the water on right away if that's what you usually do. Or if you normally get in with them, you can put them in, but don't get in right away. Wait and see what they do. After wiping them down and they maybe still have soap on them and they need to be rinsed off, you can wait and see if they'll tell you, soap off, don't want water, something like that, to say, I don't want the soap on me anymore. Another is to leave the toothbrush in another room or put it in a cabinet where they don't see it when it's time to go brush their teeth, and then they look around and try to tell you like, wait a minute, this is not what normally happens. I need my toothbrush, please. So those are some examples. This is not an exhaustive list by any means. This is just to help you all get thinking about how can I start implementing some of these language strategies throughout your day. We will be doing a live video session with the Shoblis Skivri in the near future. So if you have more questions, reach out. If you have specific examples and things that you want answered, reach out, and we can hopefully answer those when we do our live session with you all. Thank you very much. We'll see you soon. Bye.